I used flour that's 18 months old.
Ew.
These are 10 common stockpile mistakes that I want to warn you about. How do I know if food that is expired is still good or not? I'm using yeast that was expired in June of 2023. This oil here was expired a year ago, February 2023. Where do I stockpile if I live in a small house? Tara, I don't have $1,000 to go stock up like you. I need to restock my stockpile room. Even though pasta is on sale and it's cheaper, 6 months ago I restocked, so I still have this, so I am not going to get pasta. I know this looks crazy, but I got these boxes of cereal for 40 cents after Halloween. I got these boxes of cereal for 40 cents and these boxes of cereal for 40 cents. So even though my family's not eating them that quick, I'm saving them for stockpile because if we have an emergency, they are very edible. Now, these are my Cheerios and my Fruity Pebbles. I know, guys, you can just comment whatever you want, but my family loves them. So when they go on sale for $1.77 a box, I stock up on those. Cereal is a great, quick food that you don't have to prep anything. You can literally eat it out of the box and be okay. Rice never expires. I mean, it'll go forever and forever. Here's how I store my rice. The rice that I'm using right now, I keep out. Rice that I'm not using right now, I store in these cat litter buckets that I've washed out, and I store them straight in here with some diatomaceous earth. I'll put a link in the description below. And what I do is I just leave them in their packages and put it in here. Now, diatomaceous earth, it is an anti-parasitic and an insecticide that is natural and food safe. So what I do is I sprinkle it on the top of my buckets, and then I also sprinkle a little bit inside just in case the bugs happen to get in there. It's not going to kill you. It'll just take care of your parasites if you happen to ingest any, but I don't. I just rinse it off and then cook my rice and we're good. And in case you're wondering what diatomaceous earth is, it's just crushed up fossils, and when the bugs walk over it, it cuts their exoskeleton and kills the bugs. So that's why it's an all-natural insecticide. Instant potatoes, you can just literally add some water and you will be okay. So I have several packages of instant potatoes for quick filling food. Mike does not want to run out of his garlic powder, so we have a lot of garlic powder, but spices never expire, basically. Now, they might lose potency and you might have to use a little bit more, but basically they never expire, and I just keep them in the original package sealed. You can see we're almost out of ketchup, so that's another thing that I'm going to stockpile today. Jams and jellies. These I keep because not only can you use it for toast, but you can add it in oatmeal for a little bit of flavoring if you are getting tired of eating oatmeal all the time. This video is brought to you by our Dining on a Dime cookbook. We have quick and easy recipes your family will love to help you get in and out of the kitchen fast. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. It's 25% off now. Quick cooking breakfasts. Well, I guess grits isn't quick cooking, but cream of wheat, quick oatmeal. That way I can just add water and let it sit overnight, and then I will have oatmeal in the morning. Hard candy never expires, but it's something really good to have on hand in case you have coughs or you're getting sick to your stomach. That's why I have the peppermint, because it works for both. I also got these at Dollar Tree for 25 cents after Christmas. So I've got a nice stockpile for a while. Make sure you've got some coffee if you're a coffee drinker. Nobody wants a grouchy survivalist. So make sure you have some coffee. I can see I'm almost out of my survival chocolate. Yes, they had these spoons on clearance for 25 cents a package after Valentine's Day and 50 cents a package, which, my goodness, this is 1 pound or half a pound. 50 cents for 8 ounces of chocolate is a really darn tootin' good deal, but I can see I'm going to need to stock up after the holidays coming up soon.
Wasn't that Valentine's Day a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
So it's lasted a long time.
Yep. So it's lasted a really long time. Hot drinks, Swiss Miss. Not only is this filling, but it will also warm you if you can get your water heated up in an emergency situation. Got this for $1 a box. course, I stocked up on a lot because now it's like $2.50 a box or something. It's crazy expensive. Macaroni and cheese. Quick, easy, kids love it. My family stocks up on it. Brown sugar, powdered sugar. I am a cookbook author, so I go through this a lot for my videos. This is one thing that I will be restocking today. Guys, be super, super careful. I got this in March at the case lot sale at my local store, and I noticed that the expiration date was July. Check your expiration dates for sure on things that have oil. Your peanut butter, your oils, anything that has an oil in it, your oil will go rancid. So this was a bad deal for me because now I have all this peanut butter I have to use up really quick before it goes bad.
Look with that.
Yeah, I know, because Jack's the only one who eats it. Well, I eat it a little bit, but... You ready?
BJ eats it if it's in cookies and stuff.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Yeah.
How many kids do we have eating at the moment? Okay. Iodized salt. Guys, make sure you get the iodized salt and the regular salt. The iodine helps with thyroid problems. That's why they started adding it to salt. But I also have regular salt without iodine because that way if we have to do a nasal rinse, is that what it's called? We can have some on hand.
About the salt is it all comes from a hole in the ground, so the brand doesn't really probably matter too much.
It's not. My flour and sugar right here, you can see these are the ones that I'm using right now. Flour and sugar I keep in cat litter buckets just like that. I just set them right in there. Then I just stack my cat litter buckets on top of each other to store them easier. I also normally put diatomaceous earth around here. I just restocked these, so I haven't got it on there yet. Store the foods that won't get hurt by water on the ground. So my apple juices, my canned goods, my washer is straight above me. So if I have a washer leak, it's going to drip all the way down here. So I try to put all the foods that I can right here on the floor so that if they're sitting in water, it's not going to hurt anything. Now the cans probably isn't the best thing because those could rust, but I need to reorganize in here. So that's one thing that I'm going to do is get something that's plastic on the floor. But I wouldn't put anything like your sugar or your flour or your rice on the floor if there's even a hint that you could have a water problem. It's the best thing ever. We had Poopageddon 2024 twice where our sewer backed up here. Water all over the place. It was a real mess, absolutely gross. But then our foundation leaked, and if our water heater breaks, we have this little alarm, and it's already been tested. And this one hooks up to our security system, but you can get them so that you have an app where it hooks up to your phone and alarms you, or it just beeps. You can have them just playing where they beep when the water touches this. This is probably the best. How much was this, dear? $40, I think.
It was like $40. They're cheaper ones.
This is the best $40 we have ever spent. When our foundation started leaking, we were able to take care of it right away and didn't have the entire basement flooded. I will link these in the description below. Also be great to put in your bathrooms, behind the toilets, under the sink, and in your stockpile room. So like I should probably put one in my stockpile room where the washer is above that. That way I'll be notified if we have a water problem. Keep some super easy foods to eat like saltines and crackers. No bake, no cook, no nothing. You can just grab a few saltines and eat those if you have no way to cook your food. My ramen stockpile is getting very, very low. Usually I have about 20 of these. My boys have been loving the ramen. It's on sale this week, so I am going to go stock up. Ramen is also a super easy food to have on hand because you don't have to cook it. You can just eat it like a cracker. So that's why I love to have it on sale. Although a viewer did point this out to me, it does have, let's see, flour. Well, maybe I've been made a liar.
What do you think it had oil in it?
Yeah, a viewer told me it had oil. Some of them have oil. Let's see, where do you see fat? Well,
7 grams of fat, so either,
oh yeah, palm oil. Okay, so ramen does have oil in it. I did not know that, and a viewer pointed that out to me. So I would only say probably 18 months past the expiration date is what you could go on ramen. Maybe 9 months, 9 to 18 months is all that I would go. These are not going to be a long-term stockpile. Okay, I have everything out on shelves so I can just at a glance see if I need anything. So we are out of baked beans. We are out of olives. We're using some of the black beans. So those are some of the things that I'm just going to go buy a couple of cases and restock. And I don't have to think about it. Don't have to keep a list. I can just look right on my grocery list, stock it up, and bring it in here.
It looks like Mother Hubbard's covered right now.
Get a picture of baking soda too. Answer a couple of questions that people have. Number one is, where do I stockpile if I live in a small house? I know my stockpile room is overwhelming. For me, it's just a grocery store in my home, so I don't have to go to the grocery store so often. Plus, we live in Wyoming. At any given time, we could have a really bad blizzard and just be snowed in for weeks, literally weeks. But you can still stockpile in a small apartment or house or whatever. Do you have space under your couch? Most canned goods, a flat will slide under your couch, under your bed, in the back, in the bottom of the closet, in the back of the top of the closet. Can you make an end table out of a trash can, a small trash can, and put stuff in there? Just put a wood top on top and put a tablecloth over it. In my one house, I had a really small living room, but my couch was kind of pulled forward from the wall. So I could have underneath the window by the wall or even behind the couch, I could have lined things up and made a couch table behind that when I lived in my teensy tiny apartment in the mountains. I had a cupboard in that apartment where it had a really awkward corner in the back corner, so I could have put stuff back in there. I put it under my bed. In the kitchen, I had a couple of awkward corners also like that I can put in. You don't have to have a year's worth of food, but at least get 3 or 4 weeks, a month's worth of food. A month's worth of food is not very much. Guys, comment and let me know. Do you want me to show you what a month's worth of stockpile food actually looks like so you can have an idea? Let me know if that's something you're interested in. The next thing is, Tara, I don't have $1,000 to go stock up like you. Listen, 2 times I spent $1,000 stocking up. When that thing going around in 2020 hit, and then when we moved to this house. Right after we moved to this house, Biden got elected into the office. I knew grocery prices were gonna go higher because that's just what they do. I went and stocked up right away because I knew he was gonna stop drilling. I knew energy prices were gonna go up. I knew all of our food was gonna go up. Sure enough, it went up about 25%. So I made a 25% return on my investment when I invested that $1,000. And later, I wasn't having to buy food at the new expensive prices because I was able to eat what we already had on stockpile. But I totally understand. Most people don't have that. So what did I do before that? I would just get 5 to 10 things every time I went grocery shopping. Get 5 cans of tuna, 5 cans of peaches, 5 boxes of minute rice, 5 cans of chili. Just pick up 5 items each time you go to the store. I'm assuming you go once a week. So that's 20 items a month. So it doesn't take that long to stockpile a month's worth of food. The next thing is, how do I rotate my stockpile? Here's a good explanation of how I do that. Okay, so here's how I do it. I'm a visual person, so I like to see what I have. So I can see right here that I've only got 1 case of tomato sauce left. So the next time I go to the grocery store, I'm going to get another case, and all I do is, well, this vinegar I could take down, but I would remove the vinegar, lift this up, set the new case of tomato sauce under there, and set the vinegar somewhere else. I just put it there just because by the other ones, actually this one will go upstairs now I think about it because I need vinegar. That's all I do is just lift it up and slide the new one under. If I wanted to get another case of mushrooms, we don't use mushrooms that often, so I would just lift these 2 off, put the new set of mushrooms under there, and that's it. This isn't hard, guys. It's not hard at all. For black beans and stuff, so let's say I get down to 2 cases of black beans. And I think, oh, I want more. Then in that situation, if I have a shelf out here or something, or like my Sprite's almost gone, I would just move it to over there. This is my shelf here of new stuff that I'm getting. So I just keep rotating it. Here's the old pasta sauce. I just set the new pasta sauce here. This is the old chicken. I just put the new chicken there. All right, so then I found the flour in the back of my stockpile right down here. I was right over here, actually, just off camera. Boop, right there. I was rotating my flour, and I happened to see I had 3 of these in the very back that didn't get rotated last year. Just my mistake. So I pulled them out. They are 18 months old. So they expired in June or July of 2023, and now this is 2025. So I went ahead and just made up some bread to see what would happen. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys right here. This bread, or this flour, expired in July of 2023. So it expired 18 months ago. I am making some no-knead bread. And so I am not going to tell the guys that this is expired flour, and we'll see what they say, okay? Oops, I got a little too much salt there. This recipe is in our Dining on a Dime Cookbook, Volume 2, on page 94. All right, and I'm using yeast that was expired in June of 2023. So just so you know, for future reference, this is January 2025 already. Ooh, crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay, my bread's a little dry, so I'm gonna add just a titch more water. Okay, now we're gonna set this aside and let it rise. Now, I also used some expired yeast, and you will see by the way my yeast did not rise very well that my yeast was not good anymore. So here's the directions for the no-knead bread in the Dutch oven. You're gonna put your no-knead bread on a piece of parchment paper and let it start rising. Then you're gonna take your Dutch oven, put it in a cold oven, and turn it on to 450 degrees and let it all warm up. When your temperature gets up to 450, take out your ridiculously hot Dutch oven.
Can I touch it?
Do not touch it.
Oh.
Take your bread, parchment paper and all, put it in your Dutch oven, and put the lid on it. Put it back in the oven for a half an hour. All right, and then after half an hour, take your bread out. Carefully put it back in. Oops, what am I doing? With the lid off so it can get brown. Okay.
Hello, my beautiful bride.
Then there's Jack. So what do you guys think of the bread?
Well, it's very good.
How is the taste?
It tastes amazing.
It tastes amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that left.
Yep.
Okay, guys.
Crusty bread.
I did not tell them what was wrong with the bread, and you can see they do not know. And they said it was delicious. Yay.
Okay.
Is the bread defective?
I used flour that's 18 months old.
Ew.
Well, tastes good.
Yeah, we didn't die.
Now, if you do not bake that often, just store your yeast in the freezer. That's what I do when I don't bake very often. You know, like in the summer, I don't bake as often as I do in the winter. I do at least store it in the refrigerator all of the time now. But if you bake every day, you can just keep it in with your baking section. But if you don't bake that often, store it in the freezer. I have used yeast that is 5 years past the expiration date from my freezer. I got one of these big packets right here. And before I started doing cooking videos, this would last me probably 2 or 3 years at a minimum. But there was a point in our life where well, it was 10 years ago now, where all chaos and bedlam was breaking loose. We had my brother-in-law die and my niece came to live with us. We had 4 teenagers. Mike and BJ and I were driving kids 7.5 hours a day to school. Between the 3 of us, we were driving kids 7.5 hours a day. And it was pretty intense. I wasn't baking bread or any bread or anything like that during that time. So I had yeast that ended up using, and it was 5 years past the expiration date. Now this has an expiration date of, wow, that's crazy, of July 25th right there. And I just bought this at Winco. I don't like Winco. Their expiration dates are really short. So I'm starting to wonder if they get like the leftovers or something maybe. I don't know. I'm not real impressed with Winco and their expiration dates, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the freezer because there's no way I'm going to use this all before. Well, I might. I'm doing bread videos on my Super Easy Recipes channel. So I might use it up, but yeah, just throw it in the freezer, and I used it 5 years past the expiration date. Then I get asked all the time, well, how do I know if food that is expired is still good or not? See it, taste it, and smell it. Now, if you see something that looks like this, when I opened this can of pumpkin that looked perfectly fine, you can see right away it doesn't taste good. Also, this sweetened condensed milk that I went to go use that was only a couple of months past the expiration date, so I was pretty upset about that. But when I opened it up, I'm like, ooh, this is really dark. Usually it darkens a little bit as it gets older, but this was really dark. So here's what I did. Okay, everybody asks me, how can you tell when your food has gone bad in cans? So I opened this sweetened condensed milk and I thought, wow, that's awful dark. So I got the spoon and okay. I tasted it. I can taste it's bad. Now, normally it might smell bad. This did not smell bad. It is way darker than I've ever seen sweetened condensed milk. The can wasn't bulging or anything like that, so I don't think, you know, one little taste, you're not going to get food poisoning. But that's how you can tell. If the color is off, the smell is off, or the taste is off, that's how you know your canned food is bad. Yeah, so it tasted really bad, so I knew that it was not sweetened condensed milk that I wanted to be using for my recipes. This oil here was expired a year ago, February 2023. This is, or no, almost 2 years ago. And it's been in my pantry, got stuck behind, I rotated forward, but doesn't smell bad. I'm using it, doesn't taste bad. So we're gonna get this oil used up. And if it did smell bad or taste bad, I wouldn't throw it away. I would make soap with it. Okay, so I'm throwing in this previous video of 10 stockpile mistakes because this answers a lot of questions that people have. These are 10 common stockpile mistakes that I want to warn you about so you don't ruin your valuable stockpile of food. Number one, big mistake is not buying your items on sale. Now, most of the things that I buy are for my low target price. You guys can check out our price book for how to get a target price, but I keep track of the prices for the 3 grocery stores in our town so that I know when it is a good stock up price. And so I just go down my list here, keep track of when it's a good deal and when it's not. But you can save a ton of money on your stockpile by just buying your items on sale. Buying freeze-dried items. Now, freeze-dried items are really nice and they're really handy, but they are also very, very expensive. When it comes to saving money, freeze-dried is not going to come even close to saving you money. And this goes the same with buying a freeze dryer. It will take you a really, really long time to freeze dry enough food with a $3,500 freeze dryer to really make it worth the time. So make sure that it's worth your time and energy to invest in a freeze dryer or to just invest in freeze-dried food. It's really nice, really tasty, but it is also very expensive. The other thing is buying specialty prepping stockpile type foods like MREs, military rations is what they are, or the freeze-dried meals. First of all, the freeze-dried meals, most of them are nasty. Anyway, I should probably do a video testing some of them. I don't know. Comment, guys, and let me know. Do you want me to do a video testing the freeze-dried meals? Maybe they'll surprise me, but the ones that I've seen and had, which was a really long time ago, so maybe they've improved, but they were pretty gross, super expensive. Once again, you could get so many canned goods and so many cans of meat for the same price that it's really not worth it. Not storing your food in buckets. Now, you do not have to do this, but if you live in a place where there's bugs and mice, water damage, like my food storage is in my basement, so the chances of me getting water damage from my washer overflowing or a pipe breaking or something are fairly high. So I need to get all of my stuff put in buckets, and I just finally got enough buckets to do that. But get your stuff put in buckets to keep from water damage, to keep rodents out, to keep things neat and tidy and easy to move around also. Bug prevention. My number one for bug prevention is diatomaceous earth. You just sprinkle it around. All it is chopped up fossils. You sprinkle it around your stockpile room. I sprinkle it on top of my buckets. Get food grade, and it's perfectly safe to eat. They give it to animals and humans to help kill parasites, and what happens is the bugs will walk through that and it breaks up their exoskeleton, and then they dehydrate and die. That's all that happens. Perfectly safe for animals and humans to eat. So I just sprinkle it around my stockpile room, and then I don't have to worry about bugs. Not that we have hardly any here in Wyoming anyway, but then I don't have to worry about bugs getting into my food storage. Mouse prevention. A viewer sent in this tip, and she said to put peppermint oil on little cotton balls or rags or whatever, or just dab it along wherever mice come in. But if you put in steel wool or SOS pads, either one, they're both the same thing, but steel wool in all the big holes. And then if you take peppermint oil and put it on little cotton balls and set it in strategic areas, mice don't like that. I didn't know that about the peppermint. So that's a really good tip to keep the mice. You're gonna have to keep the mice out of your food. It's not gonna do you any good to go and prep all of this food and then not have it be edible if mice get into it. Now, I'll be honest, in a really tight situation, you're gonna be eating that food that the mice were in. If you just cook it, it will kill the bacteria. Your food just needs to get above 175 degrees and it will kill the bacteria. But I know you don't wanna do that and don't wanna think about doing that, but in a survival situation, you may have to eat that food that the mice got into. Not buying enough food. Now, it can be totally overwhelming to start your stockpile, but not buying enough food could really be a big problem. I would say the goal is to get at least a year's worth of food stockpiled up so that if you have a major job loss illness, anything like that. Inflation, because I had almost a year's worth of food. I got a 25% return on my investment. So for the $1,000 that I spent on last year's stockpile, it's gone up almost 25% for the things that I regularly buy. So I saved $250 by buying it last year. So get as much as you can, I would say up to a year's worth, but don't get overwhelmed. And then the other side of that is buying too much food. So you don't want to go crazy and buy so much food that you're not able to use it up within probably 2 or 3 years for your flours and your crackers, those types of things. Your canned goods will last 10, 15 years, so that's not a big deal. But your flour and your sugar, those ones are the ones that don't last quite as long, and your oils. So don't go crazy and buy too much, but just sit down and figure out how much you need to support your family for a year. And then you can know whether you've bought too much or too little. Buying the wrong things. You might say, Tara, what do you mean buying the wrong things? I was shocked when I found out a lot of people will just go buy food for their stockpile, and it's not food that they even eat. I was sitting there thinking, why are you buying food that you don't eat? This is why I'm not a real big fan of MREs and freeze-dried food and pre-made packets and stuff like that, because really, you can get so much more just buying the canned goods and the flour and the sugar yourself and making it yourself. And your money stretches so much further. So don't go buy food that you're not going to eat. Make sure that it is food that you are going to eat. Stop listening to bad advice. Now, this isn't necessarily bad advice if you use it, but this is a classic example: oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags. So, I have never used those in my entire prepping, stockpiling life, ever. Why? Because I have a usable pantry that I just keep rotating through all the time. I personally do not want to eat flour that is 10 years old. I don't care how well it's packaged. That's just gross if you ask me. Now, if you're okay with that, it's fine. Go ahead and do that. But for me, I would rather invest the money in more canned goods like canned meat, canned vegetables, canned fruits, than to spend the money on oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags. Not to mention, it's also a lot of work that I don't have the time or energy to invest in also. Now, I'm not saying if you use those things that you're a bad person or anything. I'm just saying that that advice is not good for all people. So pick the advice that you will use and don't just do something because someone else tells you to do it. Next is not getting a good combination of foods. So rice and beans makes a complete protein. Rice, beans, salt, and maybe some taco seasoning. You could live off of that for several months or years if you really had to. So make sure that you will get foods that combine well together. The next is not starting with the basic foods. So get your basics like your rice and your beans that are super easy to cook and super filling first before adding in the luxuries like canned meat, canned vegetables, your Taco Bell sauces, those kinds of things. So I'm running a little low on the Taco Bell sauce, so going to have to refill that. So that's one thing where you need to make sure you don't have too little of it, because you would not want to run out of Taco Bell sauce. Get the basic foods first, then work your way up to a better stockpile. Next is not paying attention to expiration dates. Yes, these are very important, mostly with your flour-based items, your oil-based items. Those are the two that are the biggies that you really have to be careful watching the expiration dates. Your flour, your crackers, your cereals. Pastas don't have oil in them, so they're fine. Sugar is usually fine. Even if sugar gets rock hard, you can still use it. Oils, like your shortening, your lard, your cooking oils, those will also spoil faster. So just take a marker, mark on there the month and the year that it expires, and usually you will have about 18 months past that date that you can still use it. The next one is not using expired food. Just because it's expired does not mean that it's spoiled, okay? Expired means that's when it tastes the best. That's where your premium freshness is, and that's where you're gonna get the best taste, but it does not mean it's bad. The only food that is really bad when it's expired would be oils, flour, and even those, they just taste really bad. You could still eat them, but they would just taste really bad. Now, what I would not eat is expired dairy-based condiments like your ranch dressing, your mayonnaise, anything with milk or eggs in it, past the expiration date. I really wouldn't go more than a month or two. And the other thing is canned goods that are dented and bulging. That means bacteria is growing in that can, causing it, the gases causing it to expand. So you don't want to use dented or bulging canned goods past the expiration date. Well, you don't want to use those at all, no matter what, even if they're not past the expiration date. But don't throw away food just because it's past the expiration date. Most of the time, it is still perfectly edible. Not knowing how to cook. Get a really good basic cookbook like our Dining on a Dime cookbooks, guys. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are all your basic recipes. How to make homemade bread, how to make homemade tortillas, how to make taco seasoning, how to stretch your meat, how to use very little meat, using meat as a condiment instead of as a protein source. All of these ideas and tips are in our Dining on a Dime cookbooks. Volume 1 and Volume 2, they are totally separate recipes, but they can be used together. And then our gluten-free, dairy-free edition is just Volume 1 in gluten-free, dairy-free recipes, so that if you're like me and have to be that, then you can do them. But guys, learn how to cook and get a good basic cookbook, and that will save you more money than anything on your stockpile. That is a huge mistake. People buy these stockpile foods and then they don't know how to cook them. Also, if you want, we have a free stockpile ebook in the description below. You can just go and pick that up for free. The link is in the description below. And in that ebook, I give you a ton of different recipes to use with your stockpile. Next is using your stockpile on a regular basis. Now, this may seem fairly obvious, but my stockpile is not sitting in my basement just waiting to be used. My stockpile is used literally every single day. I'm not exaggerating. I just treat it as my own grocery store. And several times a day, we'll just go down and say, oops, we're out of Taco Bell sauce. Can you run down and get some? Oops, we're out of flour. Can you run down and get me some? Use your stockpile on a regular basis and always be continually restocking it. That is the way you can make sure you have the freshest food, and you can always keep your stockpile rotated. Guys, please go watch 15 things you should buy before hyperinflation hits and visit us at livingonadime.com. We will see you guys next time.